Breaking right now, Lucy Connolly will remain behind bars for another night after the Court of Appeal deferred its decision about whether Britain's political prisoner should be released for sending a singular tweet, a post on X, on the night of the Southport massacre. I was in court today. It was very important to me that I was there to hear Lucy's evidence delivered from prison in person. And I'm going to take you through it all because I do not trust that the mainstream media are going to give you the unfiltered, unvarnished view about what really happened inside the Royal Court of Justice. Then we'll see this exclusive interview that I recorded with the Daily Telegraph columnist Alison Pearson, who has been campaigning on this issue, and Lucy's husband, Raymond. I can also tell you that I spoke to Lucy today from prison before she faced court. She was nervous. She is absolutely devastated to remain separated from her beloved daughter. But she does have hope that the right decision will be taken. So I'll tell you what happened inside the court, because I think it really does sum up the ludicrous nature of what happens when you try and use a housewife, when you try and use a mother, when you try and use an ordinary woman to act as a deterrent for all of us to stop posting on social media at all. Because before Lucy even started her evidence, the three justices, and I promise you this is not a joke, were arguing in quite a lot of detail about the use of the term LOL, L-O-L. What does it mean? What does it mean if it's an uppercase or if it's lowercase? Could there be any hidden meaning of using that word? And does that not point to the absurdity of the fact that we are now locking people up for social media posts? But very soon after that short bit of back and forth about the term LOL, Lucy came up on the big screen from prison. She looked lovely. She was wearing a flowery blouse. And trust me, Lucy is not at all what you think she is. Before she entered prison, what was so astonishing is that the fellow prisoners had been told, oh, you're going to really struggle to deal with this woman. She's a bad one. She's going to be violent. Honestly, Lucy Connolly is just the most lovely, down-to-earth woman. Just like one of your friends, your childminder. She is a great laugh, very positive, and she's dealt with all of this stoically. But this set of evidence was incredibly difficult for Lucy Connolly, and you won't be surprised to learn that. And so she was asked in quite a lot of detail about what happened that day of the Southport massacre, which resulted in her sending the post on X that obviously saw her be sent to jail for over 2 years. She'd seen what happened at Southport on the news around tea time, and she sent the tweet at 8:32 p.m. And she was asked by her barrister how she felt. She said she was really angry, really upset, totally distracted by the fact that those children had been dying. And she said she just couldn't get her head around how it was allowed to happen. It sent her into a state of anxiety. She kept thinking, I sent my daughter to gymnastics. This could happen to her. And she said she already knows how those parents of the young victims of Axel Rudy-Gabana felt. And of course, that's because Lucy Connolly had already suffered the loss of her own child, her son Harry, at just 18 months old. And watching alongside me in the courtroom today was Raymond Connolly. He was there with his best friend who was patting him on the knee for support during these very, very difficult moments. Because Lucy was asked whether these murders at Southport caused a resurgence of her symptoms of PTSD, which connected to the loss of her son. By the way, her loss of the son was proven to be as a result of NHS neglect. Was she more protective of her daughter as a result? Ridiculously so, Lucy replied. And then she was told to think about what actually happened to her son. who was just 18 months when he passed. And she said, I knew something was wrong with him. I kept presenting him to doctors to be told I was wrong, and they were right. Unfortunately, he did die. The worst part of it is they maintained for a whole year that they followed the guidance, and she just wanted them to tell her what it had happened. And so there was a clear implication in this evidence that the death of a child, partly as a result of state failure, is obviously something that is going to impact Lucy in a psychological way. So then she made the post. And yes, people can say it was a horrible post, but she was not inciting violence. Of course she wasn't. She didn't intend for anyone to set fire to hotels or murder any politicians. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. She asked clearly and concisely when her lawyer put that to her. And of course, she took the dog for a walk. She went out, she tried to clear her head, and she returned home. And just 3.5 hours after that post first went up, she deleted it. Why, Lucy was asked. Well, she said, I'd calmed myself down. I knew it was an acceptable thing to say. And what was interesting is when she first took that post down, no one had noticed. She didn't do it because she was reacting to people saying Lucy Connolly has to be locked up. At that point, nobody knew about the post at all, okay? And then the so-called riots started. And you know, I call them the so-called riots because I actually disagree with Lucy Connolly. I don't think these were real riots. I think they were riots infiltrated by the left, and they were riots pushed by the mainstream media to silence the public. But what is so fascinating and what has not come across at all in the coverage of Lucy Connolly is that before anyone had noticed her post on X, before anyone had spoken about arresting her, Lucy Connolly spoke out against the riots. She openly advocated against them. She posted on X, FFS. I get they are angry. I'm effing raging. However, this isn't the way. Protesting, yes, but not violently. Again, on August the 3rd, this is 5 days after her post on X, but before she'd been arrested, before anyone had noticed what was going on, she wrote about the so-called riots. Last night was not protesting, it was rioting. It plays right into the hands of the establishment and the media. So why does this matter? It matters because to suggest that Lucy Connolly, a grieving mother, was in any way inciting violence just goes against the facts of what she had actually posted. But then what happened? The left-wing mob got involved. They realised Lucy Connolly's husband was a Conservative councillor, and they came for her. Someone found the post, a screenshot of the post, and they were copying in the police. They were trying to get her arrested. They were copying in Ofsted to try and stop her working as a childminder. It was all getting out of hand. And she knew it. And Lucy was panicking. Of course she was. She said, this is an effing nightmare. And so she locked her account. At this point, Ray, her husband, and Ray's staff were getting concerned because, of course, people were saying, well, you're a Conservative Party councillor. What's going on here? And so Lucy put out a note apologising for the post. But what she was most upset about, because this is the thing about Lucy Connolly, she thinks about other people. What she was most upset about, and she said this in court, I was upset that they were bringing my husband into it. He didn't write the tweet or know about it. He's a good person, she said. I felt so dreadful for him because he didn't do anything wrong. She said, we have a very good relationship, but we don't agree with everything. I don't tell him what to think, and he doesn't tell me what to think. But the backlash was intense. That day she was arrested at 2:36 p.m. A nurse attended to her. Her blood pressure and anxiety levels were high. She didn't have the right medication, and this is a highly medicated woman because of the trauma of the loss of her son. And at this point in court, things got very emotional. She broke down in tears, recalling what it was like when she first went into prison, having never been in trouble with the law before. The woman checking in in the prison said she'd never seen anyone so terrified. She made sure that I was put in a wing where it was calm. It was so clear to me that this was a woman who should never have been in prison. So why on earth did she plead guilty? Well, she did it because she'd sent the tweet. She knew she'd sent the tweet, but as she said, it wasn't her intention to stir up racial hatred. And when she was asked, what were you thinking about when you pled guilty? She just said, my daughter. All I could think about was her. It's always been about the easiest way to get back to her. Lucy didn't really know what she signed. Her solicitor, who was interviewed later in the day, did a terrible job. Lucy should have been properly advised that she should never have pleaded guilty. She should have been allowed to go home, but the state was punishing her. But Lucy was absolutely mortified by what happened. And it was so clear from watching her evidence today that the state actually chose the wrong victim. Because Lucy Connolly is you or me. She's not a thug in any way. She's not a racist in any way. She's someone who is absolutely furious, as so many of us are, about the disastrous impact that mass immigration has had on our society. And guess what? It's not illegal to say that. Now, there was no decision announced today. Lucy Connolly spends another night in prison because I imagine the justices are absolutely shit scared about the consequences of keeping this woman behind bars when Hugh Edwards walked free, when lots of violent Islamists walked free, when actually ISIS members who fought overseas for ISIS are not spending a day behind bars, let alone even being prosecuted. So after that incredibly powerful evidence, I spoke outside the Royal Courts of Justice with the Daily Telegraph columnist Alison Pearson, who has been with me on this from the start, and Raymond Connolly, Lucy's husband. I do just want to clarify, by the way, because a lot of people have been talking about this online. Of course I didn't want that Palestinian flag in the background. These freaks protesting at the Royal Courts of Justice, and we desperately tried to get it out of shot, but they have one of these flags which has such a long arm because they are just utterly determined to get in shot. So thank you very much to the person online who manipulated the Palestinian flag into a Union Jack. Watch. But first, we've been told our whole lives that wrinkle creams were the easiest way to look younger. Now one doctor says that's nothing but old news. According to Dr. John Lake, the world-renowned Beverly Hills beauty expert, most wrinkle fixes on the market are nothing but glorified moisturizers. They hardly make a dent on your appearance, and some can even be harmful to your skin. Recently, Dr. Lake has focused his attention away from mainstream cosmetic practices. Why? Well, so that he can pursue a revolutionary anti-aging breakthrough, one that some experts say could empty the wallets of the cosmetic industry. It's almost like Photoshop for your face. He said you may even be mad after seeing how easy it is to visibly erase your wrinkles from view. His personal clients have dubbed his new do-it-yourself technique the age rewinder method because it can take years or even decades off your appearance in under 2 minutes. And in light of this amazing breakthrough, Dr. Lake has released a step-by-step video to the public. It is free and uninterrupted, where he outlines exactly how to use this simple solution from home. He says if it helps even one person look younger or feel more confident, he will be thrilled knowing he helped. The video has since gone viral. At first it was shared by users on Facebook, but since then it's racked up over 2.3 million views and counting. So far, the comments and feedback have been outstanding, with thousands of women reporting they look decades younger. One viewer even commented, "Best results of anything I've used. I can't believe how well this works. I'll never stop using this. I don't understand how it works, but the results are great. Thank you." So you can find out more about this yourself right now. Go to bhmd1.com/outspoken or just click on the link in the description box below. That's bhmd1.com/outspoken. Now, there is one thing Dr. Lake asks from his viewers. If watching this video helps you look and feel younger than you have in years, then please share this video with your friends and loved ones. Together, we have the power to help as many women reclaim a youthful look as possible. Go watch the video bhmd1.com/outspoken right now, or just click on the link in the description box below. But now, back to the show. We've just come from court where Lucy Connolly has been giving evidence now for about 1 hour. It was an incredibly assured and emotional performance, but there were tears. And sitting alongside me in the courtroom, Alison Pearson, Daily Telegraph columnist, and Raymond Connolly, Conservative councillor and the husband of Lucy Connolly. So Raymond, how do you feel Lucy went in there today?
I think she delivered really well. I can't really fault her under extreme pressure. Adam King got all his points, what he needed to do from her, and I just thought she'd done really, really well, because obviously I spoke to her this morning, she was really nervous, but obviously Lucy has turned it round and she knows she's fighting for her daughter's life and hers, and she's went out and done everything and as best as she can.
A very difficult moment when she broke down in tears. It was incredibly powerful testimony. How difficult was that for you to watch?
It's tough. It's always tough when she starts talking about Harry. I mean, even talking about it now, it's not. It's you just start having flashbacks, and it's awful. It really is. I mean, I know people say you can get over these things, but you just don't. I have to be honest. You just have to live with them. But as I talk to you now, I'm thinking about me in the bedroom with him and all sorts, and then the ambulance come in. So it's just she'll be going through that as well. She will.
And Alison, the idea of raising what happened to Harry, 19 months old, what wasn't he, Ray, when he died as a result of NHS neglect, was to show very clearly to the judges that Lucy is suffering from PTSD. And that was a big part of the reason why she posted on X what she did.
Yeah, I think that there was this Lucy Connolly, Tory councillor's racist wife. She was demonised. It suited Keir Starmer and the British state to demonise her, I think. And what's coming out now is the more human side that you know about, Dan, I know about. Obviously, Ray's told us about that she lost her baby aged 19 months and is easily triggered by the suffering, let alone death of children. So the brutal murder of 3 little girls in Southport on that July day had a catastrophic triggering effect on her. I think she was in a state of great anxiety when you got home, wasn't she? She was in.
Yeah, I couldn't get in the house. No. She'd left the key half turned, but I went in there. Obviously, she was in a bit of a state. She was.
And it was just so clear with all of her evidence today that the reason she agreed to plead guilty, number one, she wasn't in a great state of mind. She didn't have the correct medication. She wasn't quite sure what she was actually signing away. And you were shocked, right? Even as her husband, you didn't know. But it was simply because she wanted to return home to your daughter as quickly as possible.
Yeah, of course. She just felt she'd been watching the reports at prison, and she'd listened to the Prime Minister and whatever, giving out his speeches, and she just felt everybody was turning against her, and that she was in a no-win situation. But her legal had pretty much said, it's a no-win situation for you, and so she took the damage limitation route, which was to get home as early as she can, as opposed to going in for into a front of a jewellery.
The absolute key moment for me, though, Alison, was when the barrister asks Lucy, what was going through your head? What did you post on X? And she was absolutely abundantly clear that she was not in any way attempting to stir up racial hatred, which is, of course, what she went down for.
Well, as Ray has said, she's not a racist. She was a childminder to children from all corners of the world, and has wonderful glowing references from the immigrant parents. And absolutely, I think the key to this hearing today is that she absolutely thought she wasn't pleading. She wanted to plead guilty because she wanted to have a shorter sentence and get out to be back at home with Ray and their 12-year-old daughter. But she didn't realise that she was actually pleading guilty to a much more serious charge, inciting serious violence. And in fact, she specifically, Dan, after the riot started to kick off, Lucy posted and said, this is not the way. We need to have an intelligent discussion with lots of us need to come together and talk about these issues in a serious, articulate way. So she very much clearly made that. She made that absolutely clear. She was not stirring up serious violence. In fact, she was appalled by the violence.
Well, indeed, right. Even before the police came to question Lucy at all, she had posted numerous new tweets where she said exactly that, didn't she? Where she said she didn't agree with the riots. She said that it was violence, not protest. And she actually said quite critically, those people are playing into the hands of the establishment and the mainstream media.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, she wanted, even general discussion, she was looking forward to trying to get her phone back, because obviously that had the evidence, and she was always thinking at one time she'd have to defend herself with those text messages, but the police destroyed her phone, so she lost all that.
Okay, just finally, Ray, what is the plan either way? So if Lucy is released today, what is the plan? And if she's not, what is the plan?
Oh, well, if she's released today, obviously,
Hallelujah.
we have to
You're
do
reunited.
a lot of rebuilding. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, I'll send her with a daughter, because there's obviously going to be a detachment, and I need them to try and get themselves back on track. If she's not released today, Lucy's strong. She'll cry. She'll be upset. But she'll bounce back. She always do. The girls will look after her in the prison, and we'll wait until her release date on the August, and then she will be out, and hopefully then she'll start to defend herself, and because she will.
But Alison, something that we believe is very important, and we know so many of the Outspoken audience will feel is very important, is that we want to do something to help. And so many people have asked us, haven't they, over the past few weeks, what can we do to help? So there is now a crowdfunder to rebuild Lucy's life.
Yes, Ray is much too proud to talk about this, but he's had to sell the car and other bits and pieces. Things have been quite tight because they've lost Lucy's income. So what we would like to do, you and I and all the supporters, is to get a cushion from this crowdfunder so that when Lucy comes out, she's not going to have to dash into something immediately. She can build, back that bond that Ray talked about with their daughter, who's been really distraught and, has been really, really suffering. So please, doesn't matter however little, if you can make a donation via the crowdfunder, which you and I feel very strongly about. I just want to say, Dan, sitting there watching her so composed, doing her best, I'm sorry, I know it's not the law, but I'm thinking, what the hell are you doing in prison? This is madness. It's a person who tweeted something. It was up for 3 hours, 3.5 hours, and it was intemperate and angry and nasty. And she thought better of it because she's a good person and she doesn't deserve. We've seen people in the last few months who have viewed the most serious paedophile images, walking away from court with a suspended sentence. So what is Lucy Connolly doing with a 31 months prison sentence?
Absolutely. I was watching Lucy in court today and I just thought, this is the best of British, and her incarceration actually shames Britain.
Really.
So we've got a hope for the right result today, but Lucy Connolly needs to be freed. She's a political prisoner, and there are many others, but this is a start. So thank you so much, Alison, and good luck, Ray. Such a brave guy. And actually, I've got in my hands today a character witness that was written for a really great guy. I'm not going to name him, but let me just say, this is someone who a judge should absolutely listen to, given his background. And he spoke about Lucy Connolly and said, I'm convinced that Lucy and her husband Ray have and never will get over the loss of their son Harry. How could they, and in such terrible circumstances? I myself have witnessed firsthand the breakdown of what was once a stable and happy young woman, and of course Mummy, which as a father of 3 myself and now grandfather of 5, it's hard to comprehend. And then on the issue of racism, because the prosecutor for the state today, shame on him, was attempting to paint Lucy very much as some type of racist. And this, he says here in this reference, my final points, Your Honour, are that I have never once, in 1,000 interactions with Lucy, over almost 30 years, ever heard her say anything that made me feel or even suspect that she had a molecule of racism in her being. On the contrary, I have been in her company, her as a young adult, and in the presence of boyfriends, several of colour, actually. And I know only too well that she looks after children from all ethnicities and all religions too in her role as a certified childminder. That she has wonderful and genuine relationships with the parents of such children too. So much so that Lucy, at this very moment in time, is supporting an African doctor's application for asylum and visa right here in the UK. Ha! So tell me that woman is racist. Tell me that woman is the pin-up for racism in this country. It really is despicable. Now, let me tell you about this crowdfunder, because I know so many of you, as I said with Alison and Ray, have wanted to help. And the way that you can help is through this Democracy 3 fundraiser, which I have linked to just now in the show notes. So you can look in the show notes if you can contribute, even just the smallest amount. And it writes, you probably know of Lucy Connolly as the Tory councillor's racist wife who posted a horrible tweet on the day of the Southport massacre in July last year. A bereaved mother herself, Lucy was horrified by the murder of 3 little girls at a holiday club and expressed her distress on social media. When she'd calmed down, a few hours later, Lucy deleted her tweet. It did not represent who she was as a person, as a wife to Ray, a loving mother to a 12-year-old daughter, as a devoted and hugely popular childminder to small children of many different nationalities. Lucy Connolly has paid a high price for a moment of anger, an unimaginably terrible price. Sir Keir Starmer threatened there would be heavy punishments for anyone arrested in connection with the Southport riots. He called them far-right thugs. Lucy was arrested. She was denied bail, to which she was entitled as a person of previously exemplary character, and taken to prison. She was petrified. Lucy was advised by her solicitor to plead guilty because she'd be out by Christmas. Tragically, the judge clearly decided to make an example of Lucy Connolly, giving her a horrifying 31-month sentence, which shocked experienced lawyers. He appeared to give Lucy no credit for several mitigations. The fact she had a diagnosis of PTSD after her toddler Harry died in 2011 due to catastrophic medical negligence. The fact that ever since, Lucy has been triggered by the suffering and deaths of children. She had an anxiety attack on the day of the Southport massacre. The fact that immigrant parents wrote many glowing testimonials about their children's carer. The kindest British person we've met, one said. Hardly anyone thinks Lucy Connolly deserved a custodial sentence. There is no proof her tweet stirred up racism or violence. She was expressing the anguish and frustration felt by millions of British people. Compare and contrast with the treatment of a paedophile BBC broadcaster. Hugh Edwards got just 6 months suspended for 2 years. He served no time in jail at all for publishing the worst category of child sexual abuse images. Former Labour MP Mike Amesbury punched a constituent and kicked him as he lay on the floor. Amesbury received 10 weeks of jail, his appeal was heard within days, and his sentence was suspended. How is a single tweet worse than a violent assault, let alone paedophilia? It's insane, and everyone knows it. It took 10 months to get Lucy's case heard at the Court of Appeal on the 15th of May. While in prison, she has repeatedly been denied the right of temporary leave she is entitled to have at home with her young daughter who is struggling without her mum and her husband who has bone marrow failure. It seems to suit the authorities to treat this warm, bright, caring woman as a notorious villain while actual villains are given early release. It's hard not to conclude that Lucy Connolly is Starmer's political prisoner. It is laughable to brand her a far-right thug. This 42-year-old childminder is a victim of two-tier justice. Lucy could really do with your help right now. Ray Connolly sold the family car and many other positions to pay her legal fees. The bills have piled up since Lucy has been in jail and unable to work. There is a real risk they could lose their family home. If you make a donation, it will ease the family's worries and give Lucy a breathing space to rebuild her shattered life. She says she wants to use her experience to help the Free Speech Union and to fight for other victims of two-tier justice. If you think what happened to Lucy Connolly was wrong and does not represent who we are as a nation, please give whatever you can. It's such an important case, this. And if you do want to support Lucy Connolly at all, of course you can do so by clicking on the link in the show notes. Let's help Lucy Connolly rebuild her life. And of course, I will be covering this case in a way the dishonest and corrupted mainstream media will not. Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.